All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel, the main event here, and today we're going to be going over the San Antonio Pokemon VGC Regional Championship 2025. We're going to be looking at the winning team. We're going to be looking at the usage stats. We're going to be looking at the best compositions of teams, and then we'll be looking at like just top 8 overall. Question of the day: have your feelings on Reg G changed? Question of the day is that because I think things are cycling in a way that has helped keep the format from feeling as stale as it did. With like team compositions changing, and then with certain restricteds like doing better or doing worse, it allows for other restrictions to do well. We'll get into all that. So the tournament was won by Justin Tang. He beat Shilian Tang in finals in a perfect mirror match, like literally the exact same team, exact same EVs and everything, because they built the team together. The team here, I'll go over it with you right now, was a Calyrex Ice team. Calyrex Ice, which had fallen out of favor for a while, for one reason or another. I think because the Calyrex Ice team that had been previously doing well, like the one that won the NAIC and stuff like that, became a bit too outdated, but people were still kind of force feed it. So as a result, Calyrex Ice suffered, but it wasn't really Calyrex Ice's fault, right? With team composition. It's also led me to believe that I think your restricted matters a lot less than it used to, at least at the top levels. And now your composition is going to matter way much more. Like, what are you surrounding it with? The team was surrounded by Urshifu, which is a Calyrex Ice partner, which is usually there. And Amoonguss is one of its common partners. But you notice the Urshifu on this team was Mystic Water. It was a bulky Mystic Water set, not like a Choice Scarf set or a Sash set. It came with Roaring Moon instead of like Pelipper, right? So there's no rain on this team. Roaring Moon, a Pokemon that we had seen fall to the wayside for a bit, but made a big comeback in a major way, getting first and second place at this tournament, and also achieving cut, my apologies, by Nick Donnelly. Nick Donnelly also piloted the exact same team, and he had a really good standout performance as well. I think he went 9-3 in the tournament. We'll look at that in a minute. Roaring Moon, Terra Flying, Acrobatics, the standard Roaring Moon set at that, right? But like Roaring Moon just has like good typing in this format because like it's really good into Cali Shadow with the dark typing. It's really good into a lot of the balance stuff like Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, because it resists all 3 of their primary stabs. Obviously you don't resist close combat, but Terra Flying defensively lets you resist close combat and lets you resist Rillaboom still, like the Woodhammer stuff, so you still can resist 2 of the 3. And then Terra Flying Acrobatics also hits 2 of them super effective. It also just hits people for like good damage, right? Because you get the booster energy boost, not to mention the booster energy speed makes Roaring Moon faster than everything that's in the format that's unboosted, so you can get off your tailwinds even if it's not priority. You have a Pokemon that's not only doing tailwind but staying on the field and doing damage, right? And providing utility with knockoff, like Tornadus and Whimsicott. They'll give you tailwind, and sometimes in certain situations not give you much more. They'll give you some utility, like maybe Taunt, maybe Encore. Bleak Wind will give you like some damage, sometimes it'll miss. Moonblast will give you some damage but not much all the time. Acrobatics will do more damage than both those boosts for the most part, and Knockoff will give you as much damage on the first time using it into someone with their item, and gives you utility of removing items as well, right? So this set is supportive but also offensive. Amoonguss, standard Amoonguss stuff, but the Amoonguss is Terra Fairy, and I believe I know why it's Terra Fairy, and we'll go over that in a minute. The Lenders is Terra Water with Protect, Sludge Bomb, Earth Power, Sandsear. Sandsear with no rain, but sometimes you just gotta click the spread move, right? So this is what it is. But Terra Water, so you can like resist the Urshifu, because Urshifu kind of makes Landorus's life really, really hard, especially like the Scarf versions. So you need the Water Terra to survive those hits. Not to mention being a ground type, it's very hard for someone to click an electric type move into the slot, so Terra Water is like relatively safe. Grass would probably be good too, but then you become weak to like Fire Pond, whereas like this will resist like the Water Pond's moves, it'll resist the Fire Pond's, it'll resist Ivy Cudgel, even if it doesn't resist like Woodhammer and stuff, of course, but sometimes you can't cover for everything, right? The Calyrex Ice is also Terra Fairy. Terra Fairy is something that's been picking up because Calyrex Ice, one of its worst matchups is Zamazenta, but Terra Fairy lets you resist Body Press, and you're too heavy to take any real damage from Heavy Slam. And then Chien-Pao also can't really hurt you, especially with like Dark type moves, because you're Terra Fairy as well. So you can't really get hurt by Chien-Pao. So this really helps in the Zama-Pao matchup, which is one of the things where I mentioned with like team composition and like small changes will matter more, because it goes from a matchup that's like unwinnable to a match that's like playable all of a sudden, right? Because you have the good Terra type, you have the Landorus that can help cover, right? The Landorus helps beat the Zamazenta. The Terra Water lets you not take damage from the Champow's Ice move, so you can also survive that. The Amoonguss here is Terra Fairy. Like I said, I'll get back to that in a minute. Terra Fairy Amoonguss also resist body press, right? You'll take a lot from Heavy Slam, but you'll also redirect the Icicle Crashes, and those won't hurt you. You give your other mons a chance to attack. Not to mention, these also help in the Miraidon matchup, which is a struggle for Calyrex sometimes. Landorus obviously resisting any Specs electric attacks. Calyrex Ice being a fairy type. There was a game on stream where Justin had opposing Calyrex, an opposing Miraidon in the field with Discharge, Electric Volt Switch, Electro Drift, and Dragon Pulse. He had his Landorus on the field, still in his ground form, not Terra, and he had Calyrex Ice with Terra available. So he Terra Fairy the Calyrex, and what ended up happening is they clicked Dragon Pulse, they were locked into a fairy move. So maybe they could have killed the Landorus, but they would not have been able to touch the Calyrex because their specs locked, right? So that's another thing that he can do, or you can do with the team. That's also what the Amoonguss Terra Fairy is good for as well. Redirect all the electric attacks. This is like their line in Miraidon, is redirect the electric attacks, electric type moves like Volt Switch and Electro Drift. Or redirect the Dragon Pulses if they lock into the Dragon type move. So it gives ways to outplay the other team. The Ogerpon on their team was a very bulky Ogerpon. I think on stream, not in finals, but in top 4. Because obviously there was no Rock Pond in finals. In top 4, the Ogerpon was able to survive like a Ivy Cudgel from like Rock Pond, I want to say it was. Because it's very, very physically bulky Ogerpon here. Instead of like just the very fast offensive ones or like the mildly bulky ones, this one is like really bulky in order to survive those hits. It had to be, it had to be really bulky to survive those hits. And it provides a lot of utility, right? Because you get a lot of offense with Terrify Ivy Cudgel because you get the +1, but like redirection into a bulky mod like this gives you free Glacial Lances, free Trick Rooms as well. The team was also built outside like the Roaring Moon, which was like very fast, with very middling speeds on all the mons. So that way, like in Tailwind, they would still outspeed stuff that wasn't boosted. And if there was an opposing Tailwind team where their Tailwind would make their mons faster than yours, they had the Trick Room, right? And these guys were slow enough that they could take advantage of the Trick Room still against teams that were a bit more hyper offensive and a bit faster than them. So they had double speed control, and their speeds represented that, hitting those middling stats. The team was just very well put together. It's a team that I think people are going to pick up for the next tournament. I don't know if like the Justin, Shiliang, Nick, and etc. will keep using the team, because those guys tend to like build something very new and innovative for tournaments like each time they go. So we'll see. But yeah, this was an incredibly made team, and something you should expect to see on ladder, especially because Justin leaked the rental code. And they're gonna put a formal rental on page, I believe, as well. So get ready to learn Roaring Moon, buddy. So now I'd just like to get into the usage stats. As you can see, day 1 is on the left, day 2 is on the right. So day 1, right, Miraidon dominates the usage stats at 17% by itself. Calyrex Ice was 16.8, and that looks like it's a really high usage stat, but realistically it was at 17% from the previous event, right? So it actually went down. But what ended up happening is Zamazenta took a big dive down to 14, and Calyrex Shadow took a nosedive down to 11. People are just not believing in Calyrex Shadow. So like these cycles are going to continue, right? Because people are just not comfortable bringing a restricted that survivability can be a bit low at times without like forcing the Terra. Like you look at like Calyrex and Zom, these guys have so much bulk that they're not just dying all the time, right? Even if they're not as offensive as this guy. And this one can escape the field with Tailwind Volts or stuff like that. So like these ones may present more comfort pick, even if this one's the strongest and has like the most like upside probably. People are just not comfortable with it right now. Not to mention that people are stacking a lot of resist on the team, which we'll probably get into in a moment. But yeah, nosedive down to 11. Calgary up at 10%. In a video I had recorded but not put out because it just came out kind of messed up. I had predicted Calgary breaching 10%, and it actually did that for this tournament, taking over Terapagos. A Pokemon that I think might even continue to fall. We'll see. Groudon up at 5, almost 6%. I thought it would increase a little bit. I didn't think it would like jump to 10 like Calgary, but I thought it would increase a little bit. Shout out to Justin getting everyone on the Groudon train just so they could bring Cali Ice and ruin it and ruin its day. Caridon also sees a little bit of a usage jump-ish, you know, because I think a couple of them also made top 8. Caridon is in a kind of a good spot right now. because like everyone was believing that Zamazenta was like the top, or a lot of people believe Zamazenta was at the top. And Koraidon has a perfect matchup into Zam, like a really good matchup into Zam. And without like Pelipper, because Calyrex Ice was not doing as well, because the Pelipper team just wasn't doing as well, Koraidon had room to show up in this tournament, right? Because the issue was that Calyrex Ice plus Pelipper plus Urshifu made the Koraidon teams basically unplayable. They were just like, and some of the Groudon teams too, right? They just made them very much unplayable, because Pelipper just turns off the weather. It also hits Koraidon with Hurricane. It also hits it with when it hits terrestrializes. This also hits Koraidon for super effective, and you can tear out of its damage. It was just a really bad situation for Koraidon overall. But right now, the environment is kind of Koraidon friendly, but we'll see, because I think Koraidon also struggles with this version of Calyrex Ice as well, the Tang version. So we'll see how that plays out for Koraidon and Groudon. But right now they're in a pretty decent spot where like you're not absolutely trolling for bringing them to a tournament. The day one usage stats for the like non-restricted Pokemon is more of the same. Urshifu, Water at the top here for sure. Incineroar, Rillaboom, these guys are gonna flip-flop to top 3. Urshifu is probably gonna stay number 1 actually for the whole format, and then these two guys will flip, and then Fluttermane will sometimes jump up, it'll jump down, but it'll be right around here. Amoonguss is going to be consistent because it just provides so much utility with Spore and Redirection. Roaring Moon is just a really strong restricted strength level Pokemon, so it's always going to make waves. The Frigidrive is going to have usage as well, as long as Miraidon's around, because they go together. And you'll look and see, spoiler alert, but there's not any Frigidrive on the day 2 chart, and we'll go over why in a moment. The Chimpao and the Zams are always going to be together. Not to mention like Chimpao is just really good for the Calyrex Shadow matchup. If you look here, you see like there's Incin, there's Pal, and then you look down here, there's Chiyu at 17%. People are like stacking dark types on their teams. Like some teams have all 3, some teams have 2 of 3, some teams have like Dark Fu in 2 of these, like, and it just like makes Cali Shadow's life a lot harder than it needs to be. AV Hands makes it kind of hard. Booster Flutter can make it kind of hard with like Shadow Ball, Thunder Wave, Icy Wind, stuff like that. Like it's not a very Cali Shadow friendly meta at the time, but we'll see how they adapt, because Calyrex Ice, it wasn't being friendly to it, but obviously the Cali Ice teams have adapted, right? So let's see how Cali Shadow teams adapt to counter what's happening around it. Now day 2 for the top 8 restricted is actually really insane. We've never seen this order at all. We've never seen this list in Reg G at all. This has never happened before. Calyrex Ice at 24% just laps the field completely. It just dominates day 1, and it's 24% of day 2. Kyogre actually converts really well. It goes from 10 to 13%. So the Kyogre teams are doing really well. Zam down to 11, so not like as good as you would hope, but not terrible. Terrapagos actually shoots up 2%. So shout out to Terrapagos. They managed to convert really well. I wonder if that's because the Zams converted down, so the Terrapagos is converted up, because if you notice, the Zams went down by 3%, but the Terrapagos go up by 2%, and Terrapagos has a really bad matchup in the Zam. So I wonder if no, those are definitely correlated. I don't wonder anything. Calyrex Shadow did even worse. Went from 11 to 9. I don't think this Pokemon has seen sub double-digit usage in like ever in its life. Like since it was invented, I don't think it's seen sub double-digit usage. That's actually insane. We need to look that up. And then the world champion Miraidon, actually in the pits, 8% day 2. Like that's really bad. It's like it's 1% higher than Koraidon. Like that does not happen. We need to see how these teams adapt. I will say though, because NA, a lot of the players at these tournaments will bring standard, but a lot of them will also bring unconventional means. Like there was a couple of Rhydons in this tournament, right? Like Lightning Rod, Terra Fairy stuff. Like they just don't commit to that stuff in other regions as hard, I would say, outside of like the really far eastern regions. So people will go out of their way to make life hard for a specific restricted Pokemon, even at the expense of like maybe their own team sometimes. Even though shout out to the Rhydons, I think they made day 2. I think 2 of them did, so shout out to them for sure. We'll go over that in a minute, I think, if we can get over to it. But yeah, people will overcommit to making the lives of the restrictions they hate the most really hard. So I'm not actually surprised to see this, but like I'm surprised to see it hit so hard. Like 17 to 8 is really bad. Even like Koraidon did better and went up, and so did Groudon, right, by like a fraction of a percentage point, but still. Amoonguss really shot up into for day 2, and so did like Raging Bolt. I think these might be because of the Cali Ice teams. We'll go over some of that in a second as well, because this was also on a Cali Ice team. When we go over the compositions of 6, we'll see. Incineroar at 32%, Fluttermane, small drop, but still did well. Rillaboom with a 7% drop, which is interesting. Ogerpon Fire with a big jump. Chiampao stayed exactly where it is. Landorus jumped into the top 12 because Landorus is a really good Pokemon. Chiyu increased. Rockpon jumps into the top 12. Whimsicott drops down, but does stay in the top 12. So who dropped out? Oh, Iron Hands and Frigiraf for the 2 that fell out. Yeah, because they got replaced by Landorus and Rockpon. So yeah, the Iron Hands and the Frigiraf, 2 key components to the Miraidon team, right? They both fall out of the top 12 because they are part of the Miraidon team that didn't do very great in this competition. So yeah, that's something to look out for, to see if like Miraidon comes out with new friends in the next tournament, or maybe a different composition, because as of now, at least in North America, people have this scouted and they're not trying to lose to it anymore. So if you look at the right side of the screen, hopefully Editor Main has zoomed in so you can actually see a little better. You see this team composition button will show the teams of 6 that were most common. So the world's team, like I said, 17% day 1, right, was the most common one. And we saw, because the Miraidon dropped so heavily, that these other guys dropped with it. Waterfoo's on everybody's team, so it's not going to take that big of a hit, right? And the Fire Pond was on other compositions, so it also was able to pick up. For example, there's 3 Fire Ponds in top 8. Like, actually there's 5 of them, never mind. But we'll go over that in a second. But there's like multiple of them in top 8 on different teams. So Fire Pond was able to find its way into other groups. After this band got broke up, Fire Pond found its way to a new group. The Zom team was a second most common composition of 6. So you see like the Raging Bolt, Chiyu, Flutter, Chiampao, and then a 6th that we've gone over in previous videos. Cali Ice, this team is very close to this 3rd most common team, was very close to like the championship team, in a sense where like it has the Amoonguss, it has the Landorus, it has the Calyrex, but this common set had Darkfu over Waterfu, and there had the Raging Bolt over the it had Raging Bolt over the Roaring Moon as the Dragon type, and they had Incineroar over Fire Pond as the Fire type. So you can see the composition definitely is something that people are looking at. They just didn't have the last step, which was Roaring Moon, Fire Pond, Waterfu. This is the same core from above. The World's team with Darkfu over Waterfu. The Kyogre comps, Combine Kyogre with Tailwind Roaring Moons. Like the Roaring Moon is picking up on multiple compositions, Cali Ice and Kyogre. It just gives you so much more pressure than Torn does. So yeah, you see all the rest of these are at 1.1%. Groudon's most common count was Jumpluff and not Chinese Sun. Funny enough, even though there was some Chinese Sun in the tournament, and obviously there was some Groudon in the tournament. Once again, shout out to Justin Tang for influencing the Groudon revolution. 1% Bastiodon core, interesting stuff. I think like there was like a bunch of Bastiodons, and apparently they all went like even or better. So shout out to the Bastiodon group for sure. And then you got Terapagos. You have the OG Calyrex stuff. So we start getting into the less common comps here. Oh, but look, this is the team 0.67% of the tournament, but also the 1st and 2nd place winners. Anyhow, let's go over here. We're gonna go to our little tool where you click the button, you put a number, and you just get 8, and you see boom, how many were in the top 8. So you go to the Pokemon, right? You have 5 Ogerpons in the top 8. You have 4 Calyrex Ice in the top 8. Dominated the top 8, just completely dominated it. 4 Raging Bolts in the top 8, 3 Urshifu Waters. We have 3 Amoonguss, 3 Urshifu Single Strikes, 2 Roaring Moons, 2 Landorus, 2 Cornerstones, 2 Fluttermane, 2 Koraidon, Chiyu, Ditto, Umbreon, Entei, Incin, Groudon, Jumpluff, Fridge, Chiampao, etc, etc. So looking at this, we have 1 Cali Shadow in top 8. We have 2 Koraidon. So that's 3. We have 4 Calyrex Ice, so that's 7. What's the other restricted that made top 8? So no Miraidons in top 8. Kyogre did not make top 8, funny enough. Kyogre did not make top 8. Zom did not make top 8 in this tournament. Terapagos did not make top 8 in this tournament. Yeah, just only 3 restricteds in top 8. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, only 3 different restricteds. Oh, 4. Groudon is 4. So 3 Sun teams though, right? 3 Sun teams making top 8. So like obviously Sun, like I mentioned before, is in a comfortable spot right now where like you can bring it and not just like auto lose your matchups, even though it does, I think, struggle into like this team. It's not like completely tossing to have this. So definitely, if you are a Caridon believer or a Groudon enjoyer, this was your time. We'll see how it goes in the next tournament, but this was your time to shine. I do want to branch out to top 16 because I know like Stefan Mott had a really strong run. I think he lost to Carsten Coffer before getting into the top 8. It was a really hard matchup. The Groudon, the Bolt, the Incin, and the Fire Pond, I think it was, made it really hard for this team, just because like I think even Carson said it in the interview, like the Raging Bolt and the Fire Pond basically hits this entire team for super effective damage. So he used Groudon to, you know, manipulate the weather, and Incineroar to position his Mons so that like either Raging Bolt or Fire Pond could win the game for him. Did a really good job of that. But shout out to Stefan Mott on the run for sure. Diego Aguirre came to the tournament with a Zom team. I think, was he the best finishing Zom in the tournament? I think he was the best. Yeah, he was definitely the best finishing Zom in the tournament. So shout out to him. Shout out to Stefan Mott for being the best Kyogre finisher. Jackson Ferris brought Zacian and Regidrago, so he finishes the best Zacian. So it was a Zacian in top 16, so that's good. Tropico's here in top 16. Calyrex Shadow, another one in top 16. Kyogre, and then Calyrex Ice. I brought this up just because I wanted to see like how diverse the top 16 standings were, and maybe I'll even go to top 32. But if you go here, you do see a number of different team compositions and restrictors, right, that popped up in this tournament. So like that brings me back to the beginning of the video, where it's like if your thoughts on Reg G are changing, because like I said, it did feel stale. It did feel kind of like complete, the format, but people are trying new things and it's making it kind of fresh. We'll see how long it lasts, but it is making the format fun to watch for me, and it's making it more fun to play. Even since the beginning of Reg G 2, where like every single time you would queue up, you play against the Zama team. Now you might play against different stuff. You might play against the Tang team a lot, just to be honest with you, but you'll play against a lot of different stuff, and it might give you some more things to look forward to. So anyways, I'm kind of just rambling because you know how I get at the end of these videos when I'm done. Let me know what you guys thought of this tournament, what you guys expect for like the next tournament. Don't forget that question of the day. Have your thoughts on Reg G change? Click like for your boy, subscribe if you're new, become a member for that awesome member content that I go over in every video, such as sending me your team so I can review them for you, send them back improved hopefully, and the cool Goldango badge by your name on the channel and in the comments. So yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.